turn it down. Mm, I'm feeling good today. Yeah. Let's pause it now. All right. Let me stop it now. There you are. We're back. We're back. We're back. We're playing. We're playing for real. This is the Motivator Show. This is where we translate our words into action and where success is ours for the taking. Better believe it. God, let me get this thing down my ears. Better believe it. Because I'm feeling strong. I'm feeling alive. I'm feeling determined. Nothing can beat me. Nothing can beat me. Let's be sure about that. It is a mindset. Huh. It is a mindset. Yes, for our sake, for our children's and children's sake. Let's be clear. So let's thank you. So let's get this show underway. First of all, let's go to the Galaxy Affiliate Network. Let's thank Jian King, who's taken us from night to day. Let me give praise, enough respect, and appreciation to the Galaxy management. Management that's been in existence for what? Nearly 40 years. That's determination. That is what we mean to have happen whenever we have an asset in the community. It should be long-lasting, yeah, self-sustaining, a legacy for the next generation. That's how we build generational wealth. You protect it, you nurture it, you see it grow, and then you hand it over in good state. You hand it over to the next generation, but you prepare them for leadership. You prepare them for ownership. Very important. Don't just give it to them. You prepare them, train them, make sure they're fully inculcated in our culture, traditions, our ways, our worldview. That is the future. Praise Jah, Rastafari, bless, Ashun. So today's show is going to be an exciting show, or podcast if you like. And those of you who are viewing us, listening to us through the various platforms on YouTube under the Motivator banner, okay, please, DE space Motivator space show, okay, the Motivator Show. You can both see and hear my personage. Oh yeah, okay. Or on Facebook, again under the Motivator Show. And of course, Mixcloud, again under the same banner. And some of you will also be aware, we now have a presence in Instagram, okay? The Prelude to this podcast is shared on Instagram, as well as YouTube and of course, Facebook. Okay. We are spreading our wings, the multi-platform, further afield, a broader demographic audience, and we would appeal to you all. Bit of sophistication, bit of it, yep, I like that. Why? Because we are truly a sophisticated people. Yeah. So this is an African Caribbean, continental African empowerment presentation. Okay. And this is very deliberately so. All are welcome, of course. All are welcome. But this is very deliberate. Yeah, very deliberate. It's intended to translate our great words into action. No longer passive observers. That a thing of the past. And following our show of last week, which I believe you all would agree was truly an eye-opener, and I know has created waves. So Jamaica decides, it most certainly will decide, to completely turn this constitution upside down so it meets the needs of the people. It will repeal acts such as the Jamaican Banking Act 1960. It does not serve the best interest of the majority of Jamaicans. Okay. And those very rich families who stood on the backs, on the necks of Jamaicans, well, I say to Uno, yeah, I realize you have friends here in London. I realize that. But change is necessary for all of our goods. Change is necessary. And let's be sure about that. Because I've said it last week and I'll say it again today. Haven't read the Jamaican Constitution for the very first time. Now I've studied it. What a document. We are not independent. That is the final conclusion. Any suggestion that we are independent is but illusory, created by others to fool you. It's only when we create a constitution through national debate and diplomacy amongst the different peoples that we arrive at a document that reflects our aims and ambitions, common purpose. Or when that document is produced and we approve it, it doesn't require a monarch here in Britain, in London, to tell us it's fine. We approve it. It's only at that point do we have a constitution that is fit for purpose. Ndidi is quite right. Ndidi Ishiwa is quite right. The Nigerian constitution should be torn up and a constitutional conference of all the peoples of Nigeria convened so that that constitution can reflect the majority people's aims and ambitions, common aim and common purpose. I agree with you, Ndidi. We need to get her back in September. She'll be back. Yeah, live and direct here on The Motivator Show, where we translate our words into action and where success is ours for the taking. Yes, yes, yes. So let's get right into this podcast. Let's get right into this show to these crucial lifestyle messages. Why are they crucial? Because they have saved lives. Increasing numbers of you are changing your lifestyle so you can live a longer, healthier life. Your general health and well-being is your real wealth. There's a presenter here on galaxyfui.net who says your health is your wealth. It is so true, a profound and clearly, obviously true statement. So I will begin with the health messages because truly we have an exciting show coming up. Trust me, it will be truly exciting. It will be profound and poignant. So let's begin. I ask you to consider the amount of sugar and salt that you ingest, you consume every day. Okay? I ask you to consider this because sugar, there's a direct causal link between the overconsumption of sugar and diabetes, which is a profound and debilitating condition which pervades our communities. Whether you be here in Britain or Europe, parts of West Africa, the Americas, United States most certainly, and the Caribbean, or Caribbean as you were, okay? Where the Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, Professor Hilary Beckles, had noted in his immediate family, but right across the islands of the Caribbean, the levels of diabetes are way off the international scale. Primarily, of course, because these places where sugar cane was grown. and become an integral part of the local people's cuisine. Most certainly, most certainly. I've felt the effect of it myself. So I ask you to consider the amount of sugar that you consume. And I encourage you for gradual reduction of sugar consumption on a daily basis. In my case, I no longer purchase sugar from the grocery store. I urge you to do the same. It's your choice. It's your decision. It is for you, your loved ones, those who respect you, yeah, those who look up to you. It is your choice. But I urge you to reduce the amount of sugar that you consume every day. Equally, I ask you to consider reducing the amount of salt that you consume every day. Salt is one of those ingredients we add to our food for so-called enhancement of flavoring. But that is but a fallacy. The overconsumption of salt, and let's be clear, what tends to happen that we add salt to our cuisine, but we consume it every day. Yep, in quantums above what our bodies require. If we do it every day, you might not have an impact. If we do it every week, it may not have immediate impact. You do it every year, it may not have an immediate impact. But if you do it for decades and decades, the probability of it having an impact is that much greater. Hardened arteries. Your heart has to exercise more pressure to push the blood through your arteries and your veins. Raising of your blood pressure then leaves you vulnerable to all sorts of maladies, particularly aneurysms, where where your arteries or your veins burst. My own mother demise through a neuroaneurysm in her brain. Yes, she had blood pressure for as long as I was conscious of herself. As long as I knew her, she had high blood pressure. Yeah, and one of those part of our cuisine in the Caribbean, in particular, the Caribbean, is the ackee and salt fish. I can hear your particularly Jamaicans saying, yes, we understand. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 Deadly. 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 I don't say I don't eat it, but I now only eat it maybe 2, possibly 3 times a year. But I drink plenty of water following. Yeah. I pause because I know that many will be processing what I've just said, because those are profound observations. And from West Africa, catfish and certain other fishes, I note, excessive consumption of salt is harmful. Yeah. The processed foods, yes. If you look at those processed foods, yeah, it's full of sodium, salt. Yeah, they try to cover up the name using sodium and other pretty names. But actually, the processed foods are the worst culprits for excessive consumption of salt. So I urge you to reduce your salt consumption. Because each of us knows someone with diabetes or high blood pressure or hypertension. It is your choice. It is your decision. I am not here to force you, because you have the power to decide. Praise be. Praise be. Audience, listeners, viewers, I also ask you to consider the amount of carbohydrates and fat that you consume every day. Carbohydrates primarily from the wheat-based products, okay? Or indeed some root vegetable, particularly the yam. What do we do with carbohydrates? What do we do with fat? Again, fat, primarily from meat. When you see those white streaks in the fat, in the meat, that's fat. When you grill it and you see the clear fluid coming out of it, yes, a fair proportion of it is water, but much of it is fat. Yeah. When you consume cheese and butter, that's just another form of bovine fat or cow's fat. Fat pervades our cuisine. It's all around us. But what we do with carbohydrates and the fat is stored in our bodies. You see members of our community, particularly women, with bloated shoulders, bloated abdomens, bloated thighs, and bloated buttocks, or bottoms, if you like. No, it's not funny. No, it's not funny. Because that is overweight. If you have a BMI above 25, you are overweight. And I recited for you a function that I attended only a few weeks ago, in which I observed, because I was with a friend of mine who was actually a nutritionist, and she observed and shared this observation with me, that the women were eating as much food as the men. But on average, the women were 6 to 8 inches shorter than the men in the room. Yeah. The male physiology is different, naturally different from the women's physiology. Yeah. To be eating as much as the men, in too many cases, more than the men, that's danger. That's what she pointed out. She tried to speak to a few women, but they were not paying attention. They resisted the common sense advice. So I went up, I recall, and I just had some salad and a little bit of meat on the side. And one lady commented, "Oh, you'll be skin and bones." And I said, "Yes. Not only would I be skin and bones, be plenty of good flesh, no fat." She looked at me away, and then she didn't walk, she kind of moved from side to side, moving away from me. And yes, I noticed her behind moved from side to side. And yes, it was notable. Yeah. Yes, there was a melting that occurred. But no, I will not encourage our women to do that. No, I will not encourage our women to do so. It was a profound observation. Profound. So I say to you, I ask you to consider the amount of carbohydrates and fat that you're consuming. Remember, dairy products are just primarily another form of cow's fat. Profound. I know. It is profound. But I also ask you to consider the amount of an interesting one, which is one that comes from rice. Okay. And those of you who are familiar with the overconsumption of rice, because I know there are many of you out there that consume rice every day. I'm going to specifically just say rice on this occasion, I'm told. I should simply say rice. Okay. From the Caribbean, and I'm of Jamaican heritage, rice and peas. I know from West Africa, jollof rice. Yeah. The common name, rice, both of them. Staples. Starch. I'm going to pause again. Starch. The overconsumption of starch we store in our body for a rainy day that doesn't come. Yeah. We put undue burden on our hearts. Yeah. And worse still, and many of you will relate to what I'm about to say, worse still, a lack of exercise. How many of you have exercised this morning? How many of you intend to exercise today? Either go to a gym or carry out what is a professionally designed exercise routine designed for you? How many of you will do so? Particularly In fact, I'm about to say the younger ones, but in fact, regardless of your age, it is never too late to start to exercise. But if you're older and you haven't exercised for a long time, I urge you to seek out professional advice. Go to a doctor, go to a nutritionist, or go to someone who's trained as a trainer. Okay. Exercise is a vital part of your general health and well-being. Because in order to achieve that magical state where you've found a balance in your nutritional intake, okay, and that nutritional intake will be balanced because you've majored on primarily fruits and vegetables, on only a small amount of meat, no more than 5% of your total nutritional intake. Particularly the green vegetables, but a broad range of vegetables is what's recommended by the experts. Yeah, fruits and vegetables, yeah, vital part of your nutritional intake. Okay, a small amount of meat. Critical to all this, of course, is that you must drink appropriate amount of water. Okay, between 2 to 3 liters. That vary from person depending on your height and your mass. Okay, between 2 to 3 liters of water per day. Of course, your food contains natural food contains water. Yeah, the processed food most certainly contains much less water because it's processed. Yeah, that's the reason for it. Yeah. But a balanced diet, primarily fruits and vegetables, it's a small amount of meat, appropriate amount of water per day, combined with regular exercise, will keep the doctor away. Yeah, does that make sense? Just to be clear, I'm an elected official. This is true. But I've seen the stats, and they make for uncomfortable reading. The reality is, in our community, we have way above levels of diabetes and high blood pressure, way above levels of cholesterol, way above levels of members of our community who are overweight. And I've seen stats for particularly women, both in UK and US, where up to 70, 80% are overweight. Can you imagine? Heavier than the men. And of that figure, between 70 to 80% are not only obese, but they are morbidly obese. I would be failing in my public duty if I didn't share this information with you. And I know for many, this is a bit hard. It's not what you want to hear first thing in the morning. Yeah, I realize you want to close your eyes to it. I get it. Because trust me, I'm somewhat stubborn as well. I get it. I truly do. But be empowered that there are hundreds, if not thousands of you who've heard the message. You've heard the cry. Some of you may receive a warning or a scare from your doctor. You now can hear the messages and why I repeat the message every week. Yeah. But don't get to that point where you've given a scare. Take control for yourself. Yeah. Take control for yourself because success is ours for the taking. Praise be. Okay. I know it's difficult, some of these messages. I get it. I'll just conclude by saying this. I'd ask you also to think about your mental and spiritual health. Okay? If you've got any doubt about your mental health, please either go to your doctor, go to your GP, or speak to whoever you most trust, whoever you believe can provide wise counsel to you, and follow their advice. Okay? Please do not suffer in silence. And as regards your spiritual health, whoever are your spiritual advisors, seek them out. Yeah, seek them out. But I always recommend meditation. Between 30 minutes, maybe a bit longer each day, helps one to focus your mind, for you to become mentally far more resilient, for you to feel truly empowered, and for you to be your own change maker. And being your own change maker, you affect others with your positive, your awesome energy. That's the way to change a community. That is the way to change society for the good, for the better. Yeah. This is the Motivator Show. This is where we translate our words into action, and where success is ours for the taking. Ha 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 ha! Yes! Yes! Oh, I feel so good. I feel so good. You understand why, huh? You understand why. You understand why. Now, I'm going to now go into the next segment of the show where I give a few shout outs and highlights, okay, before going into the main theme of today's show, okay. And today's show will be powerful, okay, because it's an aspect of our community's life we don't discuss very often, yeah, not often enough. Okay, but we'll get there. But before doing so, I want to give a big shout out to that wonderful organization. Let me get up the correct graphics. Okay, I think I've got it here. I'm going to put it on the screen. There we go. Get it on the screen. There you go. The National Association of Black Supplementary Schools, or SATI schools, as some of you will recognize them. They are the manifestation of our community coming together, pooling our resources in support of our children. The National Association of Black Supplementary Schools, or SATI schools, okay, is a umbrella organization where you can go to their website and identify a local supplementary or Saturday school. And it's not purely academic. It's, of course, culture and tradition, teaching this experience to our children, a vital part of maintaining the cohesion in a community, a vital part in maintaining cohesion within our community. Yeah, vital part. Okay, so if you want to access these resources, yeah, and pool your resources with other parents, with other members of the community, please go to the National Association of Black Supplementary School website, which is www.nabss.org.uk. I repeat, if you wish to access these resources, please go to their website, www.nabss.org.uk, or you could email them on info@nabss.org.uk, or indeed you can phone Brother Near. Big shout out to Brother Near. Keep up the good work. You can phone on 07 958 348 558. And come together. A community that works together grows together. Yeah? A community that stays together grows together and experiences success together. I applaud the National Association of Black Supplementary Schools. Long may their work continue. Long may their work continue. I also want to give a big shout out again for another organization, which I mentioned last week, but I will continue to mention until the day comes out. Again, another manifestation of the community coming together, recognizing unity is strength, and with unity, anything is possible. This is, of course, here in London, the Camberwell After School Project. Hey, what a fantastic name, or CASP, if you like. They're seeking to raise £5,000. I applaud this organisation to you. My own children benefited from some of their services. Okay, been going for 37 years. Yes, 37 years. They are one of our heirlooms that we must and should protect. Now, seeking to raise £5,000, so go to their website, which is www.3w, in other words, .cas for sugar, PUK, CASPUK I say again, www.caspuk.org. And you can phone them on 0207 708 2711. If you're overseas, you take off the first series plus 44, of course. They are an outstanding organization. I want to give a big shout out to Sister Carmen. Dedicated her life to our children. Such people are the people we should give continued support, unreserved support. Yeah, I don't know how far they've got. Last week it was at 4,000. I suspect they may be very close to 5,000 if they've not exceeded it. But I'll speak to Sister Carmen and I'll report back at our next strong. Okay, so there you are. So that's fine. So let me just take that one off the screen. And take that one off the screen and we find the right one. And there we are. Okay. And lastly, and I just take just another minute or so, I want to give light to an organisation who've appeared here on this show, an organisation that for some reason not mention since they've appeared, except once, and I think I don't believe that was right. Okay, one organisation I've had through my other networks have had reason to give applaud, and this is of course, and I want to give a big shout out to Brother Daniel Pink of the Ubuntu Social Living Network, based here in South London. Okay, and those of you in South London and are familiar with them, okay, Ubuntu Social Living Networks, I commend them to you as an organization. Their work that they're carrying out and supporting our children is outstanding. Yeah, is outstanding. A big shout out to you. A big shout out to you. Long may you continue and continue to go from strength to strength. Okay. Long may you continue. Big shout out to Daniel Pink. Well done, Daniel. I'll be in touch with you very, very soon. And lastly, I want to give a big shout out to another sister who was on the show only a few weeks ago, and we bring up the caption for this sister. There we go. Sister Joan Joan, and her documentary. Sister Joan Joan is of mixed heritage, okay? And she relayed her life experience, and she captured her life experience in a documentary referred to, or the title is, That Great British Documentary. What a name, huh? Okay. It was truly an eye-opener. Okay. And there are some parts of the Caribbean who question people of mixed heritage. I don't understand it, because most certainly all of the entire Caribbean is truly people of mixed heritage. Okay. Truly people of mixed heritage. But the experience that Sister Joan Joan experienced in this country was indeed profound. So That Great British Documentary, which is a title, can be found on iPlayer. Or if you wish to speak to Sister Joan Joan, because you are of mixed heritage and you want to share your experiences with her, she's got an email address, quite a long email address, but it's on screen at the moment for those of you who are viewing us via YouTube and Facebook, and it is as follows: joanjoan.greatbritishdoc, and I'll spell it Joan Joan as it sounds, JOANJOAN dot great, GREAT, British, BRITISH, doc, DOC, at gmail.com. Okay, so that's quite a long email address. I'm sure Sister Joan will come up with a shorter one eventually. It's fine. But if you're unsure and if you're listening to us either on galaxyfreeway.net or indeed Mixcloud, just go over to the Facebook or YouTube recording. You can see the long email address on screen. Okay, I've left it on there for slightly longer than need to, but I hope you can capture. Make contact with her. She is an outstanding human being, a truly lovable human being. Thank you, Sister Joan. Thank you so much. So, I now want to get to the main theme for today's show. As I said before, last week's show, I think you would agree, was truly profound and earth-shattering when you discovered the truth about the so-called Jamaican Constitution. Okay? And indeed, the Jamaican Banking Act of 1960 clearly document which are not fit for purpose and must be changed. Okay? It clearly is not in the best interest of Jamaicans, whoever you are. It is not. Those documents are not in the best interest of Jamaicans and should change. And I know considerable work is underway and debate is underway to ensure those documents are changed. Okay, and I will submit my papers shortly, which provides an overview of my insights on those documents. But today's show will focus on those who are heroes and heroines. Okay, those who have fought and have served and have given the ultimate sacrifice for you so that you can enjoy the pleasures of life today. It's sometimes difficult to appreciate on whose shoulders our very existence rests upon. Yeah, there's an African proverb that discusses this. Yeah, I pause because again, I went through another exercise this week when I conducted my research. My eyes were opened to the reality of the tens of thousands, indeed millions, who have died, so that I'm able to communicate with you today. A part of our history we should, I urge you to teach to our children. And those of you who are adults know and are not aware of this aspect of our history, trust me, our presenter today is someone who I've learned over time to have the highest respect for. Someone who is truly a determined human being. And someone for whom I commend to you. Hopefully he'll be in the. Yes, he is in the waiting room. He's waiting to come on. But before he comes on, I just want to say this to you all. Okay. Today's show will give insight as to how we should respect those who've gone before us. Okay. So my question with my guests is never intended to insult or to trip. They're intended to get under the bonnet, as it were, so that you can appreciate the majesty, the grace, appreciate the strength of character of my guest. Okay, but the subject matter is one of concern to us all. It's of concern to us all, and if you're viewing and listening to this show, I know you understand this. That's why I hope that you will share the content of this show with your family, your friends, your network, okay? And if you are viewing us on YouTube or Facebook, okay, that you'll give us the thumbs up in recognition. Let me put it on the screen. There we go. Give us the thumbs up or a like, okay? But of course, you can communicate with the studio. You can communicate to the studio if you're viewing us via YouTube or Facebook through the chat facility. I don't mind that, okay? That's absolutely fine. You can continue to communicate with us via the chat facility, okay? But please, give us the thumbs up. Just the recognition. That's what we need, okay? So I'm going to bring my guest in because now this is going to be a truly thrilling experience. Let's bring my guest in. Let's hope the technology works first time, huh? There we go. There we go. Oh, have I got him? Oh, I've got him. Good morning to you, brother Paul
Good,
Chambers. How are you?
good morning, Martin, and let me start with a thumbs up.
Aha. Oh, thumbs up. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you so much. Huh? Oh, you're looking as young as ever, sir, if I may say so, huh?
Yes, I have a very good computer that
Brilliant.
does me justice.
Really good.
It's
Ah,
a pleasure to be here.
good. And I have to say, I'm so pleased that you accepted the invitation. Okay, I'm pleased about this. And I know for some, the subject matter would appear to be earlier than usual, but there's a reason. And at the latter part of the interview, we'll get to the reason why it's important that you are here today and not during the usual month, okay, which is 2 months hence, okay? That will become clear to the audience as we proceed, okay? So I know you, Brother Paul, for some time, but my audience do not know you, okay? So I want them to get to know you because they're going to find you to be a very nice man.
Yeah.
Huh? A very nice man, huh? A truly a true man of one we can all appreciate. Okay,
Mm.
so my question that I point out to the audience is for you to share my view of Brother Paul. That he's a very nice man, a caring man, someone who possesses exceptional empathy for others. Okay, so here we are. Let's go right into it. So my audience wants to get to know you. Okay, that's what I want
Mhm.
to do. So please, Paul, share an event or details of a person that's impacted your life path that made you the man you are today. Go on. Who's been your most influential person or an event that's been most influential on you?
Um, I, the first
Yes, go ahead.
person that sprang to mind that had
Mhm.
an impact on me wasn't somebody who I met physically, which was Marcus Garvey.
Ooh.
But but at tender age of 11,
Mhm.
when I was at prep school, there was a change in Jamaica. A
Yes,
new prime minister,
yes,
Michael Manley.
yes.
And I remember one of the most influential thing of the new prime minister was the declaration of Labor Day.
Mm.
And as young prep school students, we spent that day in the community that the school was, cleaning up the roads and helping the elderly. And at that age, that made an impression on me. And then 4 years later, 1976, when I was at high school and he was doing his campaign for his second term, he visited Mandeville
Okay.
and had a presentation in the night. Um, and I forgot that I needed to go home. I was out there listening to the oratory of this great man
Wow.
up to 10 o'clock in the night. And I had made up my mind that, you know what, I'll take the beating when I get home. When I got home, I then realized
Yes,
when I was asked where I was, and I said I was at the campaign,
yes.
and the strap didn't start flying, I realized that my grandfather and my grandmother were actually PMP supporters.
Whoa. Explain PMP. I know what the acronym means, but explain
Right.
the acronym.
So it's the People's National Party, which
Mhm.
is it's similar to the Jamaica Labour Party. Not the Jamaica Labour. It's similar to the Labour Party here
In Britain.
in
Yes.
Britain.
Mm,
Yes.
yes. All right. And that's an interesting one. So they were there as well. Okay.
No, they weren't.
They weren't.
But the fact that that's where I was
Okay.
saved me the beating.
Yes. Well done. Well done. Well done.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more. What was so moving about the speech? What was? Tell us.
Well, of course, at that stage, being 15,
Mm,
16, my own consciousness of what Jamaica had in 1962 and in 13, 14 years have moved on to be. It was important to me. One of my favorite subject
mm,
at prep school was civics. And so that also opened my mind to the importance of governments and that sort of thing. But Michael Manley actually, he spoke for the people.
yeah.
It was obvious that some of the changes in Jamaica
Mm,
were for the people. And yeah, I mean, I was from a simple,
mhm,
poor background, and I could see the changes, particularly in the era that I was born and grew up. There
mhm.
was a lot of farmers, and
Yes.
farmers were very confident that very soon they could uplift their family because they were allowed to lease lands that before they weren't able to work.
Yes.
Um, Minimum wage.
Yes.
They thought of people having minimum wage so that they couldn't be disadvantaged. And yeah, a raft of various policies that came in to Jamaica government
Mm,
when he was the leader then.
mhm. Powerful, powerful. Okay, so as a teenager, you were influenced by Michael Manley. Mm. And that name will come up later on, I believe, you know. But I'm very conscious, though, the organization you lead, and I'll come on to that organization in a moment. Okay. But before the First World War, there were notable heroes and heroines of African heritage. We should, of course, give homage and respect because they participated in the burning of banana and sugar plantation, destroyed the essential equipment. Yep. In other words, to ensure that um, enslavement of our ancestors became too expensive for the British monarch. Yeah. Can you name a few of those that who are heroes and heroines? You know,
You
because
know,
not
his
people are not the children don't hear this enough. Yeah, sure.
well, history wasn't one of my favorite subjects, so that's coming back to haunt me.
Yeah.
But however, yes, for Jamaica, Sam Sharp came to mind. He led as a reverend. He led a rebellion
Mm-hmm.
in I think it was 1831
Okay.
that was very influential in getting the attention of
Yes.
Great Britain and the cost to Great Britain
Mm.
of enslavement.
Yes.
Um, One of the things that I grew up to realize that I was fortunate to be born in a country that was at one stage one of the most important country in the world
Indeed.
because of what sugar was. The
Yes.
commodity of sugar was very important. It is, as I normally say, it is what oil is to to our modern world now. Sugar was very important.
Yeah.
And then also, I think the most successful rebellion was in Haiti with Toussaint Louverture,
Yeah.
and that the the impact of that was that Haiti eventually became the first successful black independent country
Mm-hmm.
in 1791 or something like that. So yeah, for me, in terms of the context in which you ask the question, those are the two names that spring to mind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's such an important observation. The children need to hear us say this, recite these words. That in fact, our freedom, relative freedom that we have today, was hard fought for. It wasn't just given to us by some enslaver here in Parliament by the name of Wilberforce. No, it wasn't anything like that. Yeah, it was our ancestors, okay, who made the enslavement no longer profitable by constant resistance. Yeah, burning of the fields. Yeah, destruction of the equipment. Okay, to make it expensive, so it's no longer was profitable for Britain to totally enslave us in that form. Okay, a different form of enslavement came on thereafter, of course, but that was the change. Yeah, that was the change. We were not passive observers, as would the English history books imply. Okay, and in most disempowering words I recall reading when I was a child, and when I told the teacher it didn't happen that way. Okay, but remember I'm Jamaica, huh? And the teacher being over, well, going red in the face said, "It's in the book." I said, "Well, they are lying." Yeah, they are lying. It was Miss Matthews, the name. I remember it. I was 8 years old. I said, "You are lying. You are lying." Because there's no way that members of my family would have stood there and let this happen without resistance. Because the most difficult Africans were put on the island of Jamaica. The most resistant, the most recalcitrant Africans were placed there for good reason. For good reason.
Yeah.
Praise be, you know?
Yep. Yep.
And once she heard it, because she has gone through a process of intense propaganda that we are better than the rest, kind of fascist mentality, And I'm going to call it what it is: fascism, not racism. It's fascism. Okay, another form of fascism. It took years and years thereafter, and I met her, an elderly woman, years afterwards, and she couldn't stop hugging me. She couldn't stop hugging me, and she appreciated the fact that as a little boy, well, just a little boy, of course, that I was confident enough to say that you were a liar. Okay, it was liar. I said it was liar thing, but anyway, you don't understand. I remember profound. That's why I gave you that question. Because we as adults need to recite these observations so the children can gain confidence from our words. Praise be. Praise be.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. But of course, you lead an interesting organization. Okay. Okay. So I said I've known you for some time, and I know you've been a part of a number of organizations, but this organization, okay, I'm going to ask you, please, as part of clarifying for the audience here, describe the lineage of the British West India Regiment Heritage Trust. And why is it so named? Why is it so named?
Okay. So um, we need to understand
Mhm.
the importance of uh, West Indian military heritage and
Yes.
history to Great Britain and the free world. So there are two regiments that are very important to
Mhm.
note. The West India Regiment
Mhm.
that was formulated in 1795 and was disbanded um, in the main in 1927. It was again reformed when the West Indian Federation was being thought of in 1958.
Mhm.
And then when the West India Federation didn't come to fruition in 1962, the West India Regiment was again disbanded, and it was the soldiers in the West India Regiment then formed the Jamaica Defense Force, with whom I served, and also the Trinidad Defense Force. So, in terms of the Jamaican military history,
Mhm.
um, the West India Regiment is our antecedents. They are our forebears.
Mhm.
If we come to World War One,
Mhm.
when Great Britain was suffering massive defeats in Europe, and King George asked the question, "Where is my empire?"
Mhm.
Because he knew by then the importance of the West India Regiment and the many battles that this unit actually won in the Caribbean, in Africa. And he was told that the West India Regiment was reduced to a mere 2 battalions. So we're talking about 800 men. Uh, and each battalion were in different places. One would be in Upper Camp in Jamaica. One would be in Sierra Leone. So the West India Regiment at that point, at the size that they were of no use to the British Empire and the World War One campaign, which was being fought in Europe at the time. And so the call went out for the West Indians to volunteer to come and fight for king and country. And so, unlike the West India Regiment, where soldiers who joined the West India Regiment were trained in the Caribbean, in the West Indies, 15,000 West Indians came to Britain and were trained and were put in a unit called the British West Indies Regiment.
Okay.
So this was formed in 1915 at the height of the war.
Right. Okay.
So the name British West India Regiment Heritage Trust is an amalgamation of the two regiments, the West India Regiment and the British West Indies Regiment.
Right. Gotcha. Thank you. That's very clear. Again, for those who didn't know this, particularly for the children that can understand the history. Okay, a vital part of our history. Yeah. But I'm very conscious as you described the regiment and why it was named, and thank you for that lineage, because that's pretty important. But I realise, of course, that last year, I believe you visited Entebbe in North France and the Kumbaya tour.
Yeah.
Why Kumbaya? And what did you accomplish? Kumbaya. 'Cause I recall Kumbaya as a Boy Scout, you see, and singing the song. But tell me, why Kumbaya and what did you achieve by visiting northern France?
Okay. So the British West India Regiment Heritage Trust,
Mhm.
and it's a long name. So the acronym spells BRIGHT. So I'll refer to the organization as BRIGHT.
Okay.
And we say it is a bright idea. And the future of West Indian heritage history is bright.
Indeed.
So we started to march at the Senate of around 2017, 2018, because it was important for us to maintain a presence on military parades on days like the Remembrance Day
Indeed.
to inform people or remind them that West Indians had served and are still serving. It's even more important point to me. And so, of course, because of COVID, we had, I think, 1 or 2 years that we didn't get too much. But last year, I met a gentleman who lives in a British person who lived in France, and he told me about a cemetery with 21 West Indian graves. 10 of them were in a cluster together at one corner of the cemetery. And then we decided that, you know what, we need to go and find these graves and pay homage to these West Indians.
Yes.
And it wasn't only Jamaicans, there were graves for people from St. Lucia, from Trinidad, from St. Vincent.
Sorry, brother Paul. I just want you to call the other islands again, because we Jamaicans often say Jamaica, Jamaica, Jamaica.
Yeah, well, I am going to try my best
Yeah.
not to make what I say seem Jamaica centric, but there are St. Lucian graves there. The graves from St. Vincent, Trinidad,
Yes.
and Barbados,
Yes.
and of course, yeah, Jamaicans. So we decided to organize ourselves in an expedition, if you want to call it, or a contingent. And first, we thought we maybe go down, in a car, and then the idea started to get wider, and then we thought we were in a minibus, and then it was a 22-seater. It eventually happened so that it was a coach of 53 of us
Okay.
who went to Etop to have this wreath laying and flag bearing ceremony. So the importance of this is such. It is easy here in Britain for us to go and stand by a monument and say, oh yeah, West Indian have served. But to go and find the evidence and look at and just stand beside these graves, understanding that it was 105, 6 or 7 years ago.
Hmm.
These guys paid their way to come to England
Yes.
and went and fight for our cause. It's very poignant to be there. And so um, uh, it was a successful tour. We were joined by the local mayors, other French veterans were there. Local people heard about us coming and joined us on the day. And the military, the representative from the UK embassy in France was there. And yeah, we came back with a lot of footages, and we realized that, you know, this is a trip that we have to do every year.
Yes.
So we had dubbed it the an inaugural event. Why Kumbaya? Well, Kumbaya was a song, I believe, that was sung by the slaves when they were crossing the Atlantic, asking the Lord to come by here and help us to complete this voyage. But we also, in Bright, thought that we heard the call of those guys who were buried there for such a long time
Hmm.
in the subconsciousness of our mind
Hmm.
saying, come by here, we are still here, come
Hmm.
and look for us. And so that was part of the inspiration for us to go and lay a wreath. Now, also, the other important aspect of that event was that when you fight in a military unit, you have a flag that you fight under. In the years gone by, when we used to fight on horses, we used to charge up a hill, we take down the enemy's flag, and we
Hmm.
put our flag up. That's the importance of the flag, the standard. And
Hmm.
each battle that as a unit you win, the name of the place would be sewn into that flag. It's called the battle honors of the unit. And
Hmm.
so after 105 years, we were able to take the West India Regiment and the British West Indies Regiment standard flags
Hmm.
and lower it at the grave of these guys to
Wow.
say, we remember you,
Yes.
we still honor you.
Yes.
And what was important for me was that there are a number of serving Caribbean soldiers
Hmm.
who are senior in the British Army who came out with us.
Yes.
And so the and I just go on to say, because I know I'm going to be asked, so what's the importance of this? How is it going to help?
Can I,
Uh,
before you answer your own question, I want to do a short interlude, a profound interlude, and it could be a privilege to do what I'm going to do. Okay. I noticed that there's a recording of your visit on
okay.
YouTube. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And I want to play a little bit of it, but in fact, there's a section of it. It's quite long, some of it. Um, but I want to participate in this part, and the audience, young and old, would understand what I'm about to do. Give me a moment. I'll just want to set it up, and you'll see. Let's hope again that this works smoothly. Here we go. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's right up. Yeah.
there you go. So this is you. This is the cemetery. Okay, and what I'm about to do, and I hope the families of the names I'm about to call out will understand why I want to give appreciation to them. Because as many of you be aware, that the Imperial War Graves Commission here in Britain, particularly in London, sought to not include the names of our fallen heroes and heroines, only because they were people of African or Asian heritage. What a crime! Yeah? What a crime! Okay. So consequently, their names are not in the main central cenotaph area here in London. So when you see the horses going up and down, you see the monarch. Yeah, there are no persons who are not white or not English, Scotch, Welsh, or Irish names quoted there, and that was a deliberate act, heinous act, to which the War Crime Commission owned up to and sought to put right. And I know you, Brother Paul, have been involved in helping them to put the history right. What I want to do is call out a few of those names. Corporal C. Campbell, Sergeant G.R. Burrows of Jamaica, Private S. Palmer, Private Samuel Howe of Jamaica, Private N.L. Rickett of Clarendon, Jamaica, Private John Smith of Jamaica, Private T. Downer, Private Josephus Mitchell, Private Isaacs Freeman Henry, Private Williams, Gunner S. Swan from Bermuda, Private S. S. Swan from Bermuda. Could very well have been twins. Private J. J. Porter of Jamaica, Private A. Sparks, Private W. Butcher, Private Nathaniel Cook of Hanover, Jamaica, Private J. Lynch, Private P. Milford, Private Joseph Johnson of Nassau, Bahamas, Private B. E. Gary, Private T. Stewart, Private James Hart, Private E. Ramsey, Private J. Sinclair of Jamaica, Private Merville St. Thor from St. Lucia, Private S. Bailey, Private J. Williams, Private W. Freighter. Private H. R. McPherson. Private Uriah Barrett of Amity Hall, Latium. I'll pause there. I will pause there. Wow, huh? It's not often one's able to quote our heroes and heroines' names in this manner. You know, I want to give respect to you, Brother Paul, for the work you're doing.
Yeah. So I understand the point you made about the senator names not being called, but I should add that not until I went to ETAP last year, I realized that in each of these cemeteries, which are maintained by the Commonwealth War Grave Commission,
Mm.
there is a book that detail the name, where the soldiers came from, and in fact, the names of their parents.
Wow. Yeah.
I actually, not the cemetery that I went to, but I look at the records of other cemeteries
Mm.
that is maintained by the Commonwealth War Grave Commission. And I'm from a little, and people on this platform will know when I say district what I mean, right? Because in England, a district is a very wide area,
Mm.
right? But I'm from a little town, village uh, in Manchester called Lincoln.
Okay.
And I was able to find the name of someone who died in France who actually came from Lincoln. My father is 85, he's still alive. And when I asked him about the family, he knew the family and he knew of the story that one of the sons of the family went to war and didn't come back. And I was able to say to him, well, I know where the gravestone is.
Mm.
And so, what I was going on to say is that what are the benefits of me doing, of us doing this? One other thing that we want to achieve, we haven't started our website yet, because we want a fantastic website that you go on it and you click country, region, cemetery, and you should be able to find the grave, the headstone of your relative.
Mhm.
So in the future, perhaps we'll be able to develop what I call West Indian military tourism, where
Mhm.
somebody in Halifax, Canada, somebody who lives in in America, wherever in the world, Japan,
Yeah.
could identify that that is a member of our family who didn't return and go and visit the gravesite.
Yes.
So that's one of the important things that we hope to establish going forward. The other thing is that, so we started in France last year. We're going into Belgium this year.
Can
There's
I,
a little,
before you do that, forgive me, I will come to Belgium in a moment.
yeah,
Can I just also say that another reason why I did that is that there are three names that I quoted. I won't call those because I've only been able to get through to one of the families, okay,
mhm,
who I recognise.
right,
And I made inquiries, and indeed, I was correct, particularly in the first case. I don't want to call the names, because, of course, believe it or not, and those who are viewing and listening to this will understand, the lack of recognition hurt. Yeah, the lack of recognition hurt. Okay. And the first person, I won't call her name right now, she's married, both herself and her husband. When I pointed out, oh, I'm doing this this weekend, and I found this name, and so on. And is this your father? So in this case, grandfather. Sorry. And indeed, it was indeed.
yeah.
And
Well, they are people and they belonged to a
they,
family.
she broke down. They both broke down. They both
Mm,
broke down. So
mm.
they're listening. They're viewing right now. I know they are.
Oh, okay.
It was profound, and so I'll read them out. That is one of thousands, of course.
Mhm,
I had to cross Europe, many thousands of names that we have yet to call. Yeah, we have yet to call. so that the families are aware where their loved ones are in rest. Okay. So I want to applaud this work. I want to applaud this work. And you're about to go on to say that you are going to do this again
Yeah.
this year. Okay.
Right. So the Kumbaya project
Mhm,
is a legacy project
mhm.
because I mean we in Bright we're on a very steep learning curve, and
Yes.
every time I went out to Belgium last week to look at uh, the grave sites in Belgium, and every time we research a little bit more, we see various strands of our history and our heritage just converging and really telling the story for itself. So we will be going back to Europe next year because I think when we complete our tour of Europe, we'll be able to set up some sort of educational package. In Europe, it's not very far to take a coach load of school children on Friday and come back on Sunday. And they would have gone and learned about a lot about the history of West Indians serving the empire. So, yep. Do you want me to go on to talk about Kumbaya too?
Well, yes, I'm interested. We'll come back to Cambodia. I'm interested in what you're going to do this year. You said it's from the 13th to the 15th of October.
Yeah.
You've been to the gravesites and to the place
Listen up.
where they rest, and there are some interesting personalities there. I
Yeah.
want to talk about the personalities, some personalities, and the first one that came up, of course, is Herbert Morris,
Yeah.
and another that came up, a name that might be familiar to some here, is a Roy Manley.
Mhm.
Can you just tell us a little bit first of all about Herbert Morris, first of all?
Okay. So from we finished a tour last year, we decided that we'd go to Belgium. And one of the gravesites that we'll go to is that of Herbert Morris, who was a young 17-year-old who was shot at dawn,
Mm,
executed
mm,
because he was suffering from shell shock, which we now know as post-traumatic stress disorder. And he ran away twice in uh, 3 weeks.
mm,
And at the court martial, he said that he went to the doctor and told them that he cannot bear the sound of bombs and gunshots in his head and he needed help and he didn't get any help.
mm,
He was described as an above average soldier.
mm,
Now, I don't know what that means in the context of 1917,
mm.
but it means that he was intelligent.
Yes.
So yeah, so when we decided that we were going to visit Herbert Morris's grave, I met a gentleman who is Belgian. He is the curator of In Flanders Field, Dr. Dominique Dendoven.
Mhm,
Um, he's the authority on West Indian history in that part of the world. In fact, he has now written a book which is being published called British West Indies Regiment. So he's an authority. So when I told him I was going to go to visit Herbert Morris's grave, he said that there are a number of other Jamaicans and West Indians in the same cemetery.
mhm,
I knew from my military background in Jamaica that Norman Washington Manley was a soldier.
okay. Yes.
So I decided to read his war memoirs. And he spoke about his best friend, his younger brother, Roy Manley.
Yes.
They were both enlisted in Deptford into the Royal Artillery
I think just for clarity's sake, when you say Deptford, we mean Deptford here in London.
in London, yes,
There you
in
go.
Lewisham.
Mhm,
Now, they were both orphaned at the time, but two bright young men.
yes.
Norman had started university studying law, and he got a Rhodes Scholar, so he
Yeah.
was at Oxford. And of course, his younger brother was sent by the start of the war, First World War. Um, Roy Manley had finished He had finished public school
Mhm.
and was in a college for military officers. He saw then, using all the money that they had,
Mhm.
sought to pay for his commission, being
Right.
in an officer training college.
Yes.
He was told that he's too dark.
Wow. Can you imagine? Sure.
When Norman heard that, I think they were both enraged. So they both decided to go to Deptford and they joined the Royal Artillery together.
Mhm.
Norman became a corporal in record time. Within a year, he was, but he was badly treated in the Corporals Club. So he returned his rank and joined the particular unit that Roy was in. And they went off to Europe to some where they were gunners.
Mhm.
So Roy was killed by a shrapnel from a shell.
Okay.
He actually was at the time recovering what he thought was an injured soldier from a previous shelling. The soldier was dead by then. But what happened in him going to retrieve the body to take to the medical post,
Mhm.
another shell came in and the shrapnel went through his heart. So he died.
Right.
Right. So I am reading Norman Manley's memoirs, and then I saw popped up the grave, the headstone of Roy Manley,
Yes.
only to realize that it is in the same cemetery that Herbert Morris is buried,
Okay.
a few feet away.
A few feet
A
away.
few feet away. In fact, Norman, when I went last week, people are telling me it's beside, but it's not. Norman grave is immediately in front in the next row.
Okay.
Now, what does this mean? This developed this narrative of us understanding the ugly consequence of war,
Mhm.
because there are three men and three different outcomes.
Mhm.
Norman Manley, who was there, who made it back, who we now know is the architect of independent Jamaica, and in some respect, the other countries in the West Indies, Caribbean at the time.
Mhm. Mhm.
A national hero for Jamaica.
Yes. National.
His brother,
Mhm.
who in itself a hero, died doing a heroic deed.
Yes.
And Herbert Morris, who was sacrificed and made an example
Mhm.
because the army, especially in war, do not like people running away because then the whole unit will run away when things start to kick off. So that's why back then people were court-martialed and executed for cowardice. However, when you look at the mitigating circumstances around Herbert Morris's situation and his commanding officer giving evidence at his court martial to say that he's above average soldier, doesn't give any trouble. He should have been saved. He should not have been made a sacrifice of.
Indeed.
So the question that arises from what I'm saying is this. What if Norman Manley didn't make it back?
Yeah.
What difference would it have made to Caribbean, to Jamaica?
Wow. Now that's
What if,
something. Wow.
yes, that's what I'm saying. I mean,
Yeah.
and what if all three of them had made it back?
Yeah.
Right? Because by this time, by the time they came back to Jamaica and the other soldiers went back to the other Caribbean countries, one of the things that was happening was the teachings of Marcus Garvey.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
so they were, the consciousness of being independent was there from a long time. And that's what they came back to, an environment that spoke of being black, being independent.
Wow.
And so this is where I'm saying this is really a legacy story, because to find Herbert Morris and Roy Manley in the same cemetery out of so many cemeteries in Belgium and France.
Hmm.
Just say that, things are, when you look at the detail of the heritage and the background and the history, there are connections.
Hmm.
And I would say one of the things that in the memoirs and something written by Norman Manley's granddaughter
Hmm.
that I didn't realize was that Norman Manley wore a black tie for the rest of his life in honor of his best friend and his brother. I used to think that it's just black and white pictures, but no, he wore a black tie in memory of his brother until died in 1968.
Wow, look at that, huh? Look at that. And indeed, you mentioned this to me the other day, and I looked and I went through the pictures, and indeed, he's wearing a black tie.
Yes, he does. And I think on special days he would wear a rosette along with his black tie.
Wow. Isn't that powerful? Isn't that powerful? And you're right. If he hadn't returned huh, from France, can you imagine what could have been the outcome for Jamaica? Or if they all returned,
They all had, yes.
I wonder.
So one of the things that I learned from Professor Dendovin was this. When King George said, let's call the West Indians because they have served us before,
Mm.
the War Office decided that in order to reduce the numbers that might come, they don't want anybody who is illiterate.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Well, what happened then? Well, they got 15,000 people who were very intelligent, include Rhodes Scholars,
Mm.
right? The first cohort of uh, people who volunteered from the West Indies was from Barbados. And the caliber of people who came forward were school teachers,
Hmm.
uh, sons of plantation owners,
Yes.
and the like. So they actually did get 15,000 very conscious, very educated people. And one of the reasons why uh, they got educated people
Hmm.
is that they were offered to be treated as the
Equal.
same as the imperial soldier.
Yes.
They would get the same pay, they
Yes.
would get the same benefits,
Yes.
and they were also told that they would be in combatant units. Well, later on, they realized in the war office that they needed laborers, and we maybe tend to look at this word in a derogatory sense. However, no laborers, no war.
Indeed.
If you do not have
Yep.
members of your army who are supplying the front line, then the front line will cease to exist no more.
Yep.
Okay. One of the reasons why West Indians were it was important for them to be the laborers was that for every ton of ammunition that the white soldiers lifted, the black soldiers was shifting three more.
There you go. Oh,
And it's in fact, it's written in books,
shit written. Yes.
right? It is written in books. We can find it.
Yes.
Okay. So that was important. They actually made the front line more effective by the way they were able to supply.
Hmm.
I'll give you another instance. Last week I found this out. When I was in the New Popperin Cemetery, we were joined by Dr. Dendoven, and he handed me one of his book, and he had three prints from the war diary from the First World War.
Hmm.
In that cemetery, there are three West Indians who are buried together because they died on the same day.
Okay.
Now, I said to him, oh, how funny. How come they died on the same day? And he was able to read from the diary. The front line where the artillery guns were needed ammunition. And so they ran an experiment along a wide gauge track on a train to see if they could get the ammunition to the front line. Halfway up there, the train was shelled.
Yes.
The three Jamaicans on it
Wow.
died.
Wow.
Um,
Can you imagine?
Again, very poignant to be standing beside the three graves and looking at the handwritten record of someone whose duty it was to detail what happened from day to day.
Yes.
And this is 106, 7 years ago.
Powerful message.
We
Yes.
we need to access access these records. We
Yes.
need to put it in a format
Yes.
that our children
Yes.
can look at it on their phones in their hands
That's
if they
right.
need to.
Yes. Well said. Let's see if we can help you to do this. Let's see if we can help you to do this. And what I'm going to do now, if I may, I've got two more questions for you, but I'm going to open up the phone lines if that's okay with you, Brother Paul. If that's okay with you. I
Yes, yes.
phone lines, and just remind the audience that we're using the usual phone lines. And let me just bring up the caption for you. Let's bring up the caption. So the number to call the studio and engage the learned and wise Paul Chambers, okay, on 0203 289 6504. I'll accept your phone calls now. 0203 289 6504. Okay, thank you. So if you wish to call in, you've been struck by some of the observations, information shared with you today, please like to hear from you. I don't often open up the phone lines, but today is an exception because we are with an exceptional human being. Okay. Can I ask you, Brother Paul, just to explain kumbaya, just so it's clear for both my and the audience reason, the kumbaya, in terms of what it means in the context of this conversation. And then I'm going to ask you, please, just to give us some idea of your itinerary and how can the audience get involved in this year's visit to Belgium.
Okay. So I think I alluded to it earlier that Kumbaya is a song that was sung by slaves,
Yeah.
meaning calling on the Lord to help them the journey. And of course, in our discussions, we were saying, what should we call the trip? And the song just came to our minds.
Mm.
So yeah, it is a cry to come by here, and we are still here. So last year was Kumbaya 1, this year is Kumbaya 2, and we hope to go across the world. Now, yes, Kumbaya 3 next year would be in Europe, but I hope Kumbaya 4 will be in Sierra Leone, where there are a lot of graves. And then we hope to go to Italy, where there are graves. And the alternate place for us to reach is in Egypt, because the West India Regiment were in Egypt, and there are some graves there. There are a few countries in Africa as well, which is Kenya, Tanzania, for example, that I think we will find graves there. So this project I see running for another few years.
Yes.
If each year we're able to find the funding to go.
Hmm. Hmm. So just give us some idea of your itinerary. Okay.
Right. So if you talk about Kumbaya 2 this year,
Mhm.
so on October the 13th, we will be leaving Brixton on a coach,
Okay.
and we go across on the shuttle to Lom, which is in Lom is in France, where we will be staying in two hotels, Ibis and I can't remember the name of the other one. Right. So we get there for late afternoon, and then we'll go to Gates, which is a monument which has a ceremony every night.
Hmm.
Gates exists to commemorate and pay homage for the missing.
Okay.
And there are a number of names that are on Gates, and I do believe that there are West Indian names there as well.
Mm.
So yeah, we will. The service lasts for about 40 minutes. We'll be there. We'll be singing a song.
Mhm.
Then we leave and we go to a restaurant which is close by. And there we have a presentation by Dr. Dendovin about his book and his knowledge of the service of West Indian in that part of Europe. The next day we will be visiting the Shuttered Down Museum and the New Popperin cemetery where Herbert Morris is buried. Uh, After that, the mayor of Popperin will be hosting us for lunch. And then we move to the main event in Listen Hook Cemetery, where again we will be doing the wreath laying ceremony and flag bearing ceremony. This year we have the idea of putting, so there are 21 West Indian graves in that particular cemetery.
Mhm.
We'll be putting down some little crosses, some little stakes, and we will be sprinkling dirt from the West Indies as emblematic of bringing back the soil to them
Yes.
as they have not been able to come back to the soil.
Mhm.
Um, will be accompanied by three steel pan players who are currently serving in the army.
Oh wow.
And they will be playing, for example, the last post using the drum
Okay.
instead of being done by the bugle.
Okay.
Um, and then after that event, we will be going to another restaurant closer to Listen Hook, where we will have what we are calling a commemorative dinner dubbed a Carnival of Remembrance.
Okay.
So, of course, we'll have the drums there
Yes.
playing calypso music, bringing back the music that these guys used to hear when they left the Caribbean.
Yes.
And there is a calypsonian by the name of Alexander D. Great, who has written some fantastic songs about heroism and people serving. And he will be there. He'll be the main act, and he will be writing a song particularly for this year's event. So yeah, and then the following day, on our way back from Belgium and France, we'll be stopping at a memorial called Vimy. Vimy Memorial actually commemorates the Canadians who died and the Canadians' effort um, in the World War. Now, I must tell you that when we go to, if you go to cemeteries, especially in that part of Europe,
Mhm.
if you shut your eye and you open it, the first thing that hit your eye is a maple leaf. There are so many Canadians that gave their life in the First World War.
Yes.
And wherever you see Canadian graves, there
Yes.
are West Indian graves as well.
Yes.
So on our way back out, we will be visiting Vimy. So yeah, that's in a nutshell the 3 days that we'll be spending there this year.
Is it possible for members of the audience who are have been stimulated and are interested to
Yeah.
come along? Can they join it, or they
Yes, this can. There. I mean,
Mhm.
we- we're going on a coach of 53.
Mhm.
Um, it's quite possible by the time we get to October, there are two coaches.
Okay.
Okay, that will throw up some logistical
Uh,
issues.
what a wonderful problem to have.
Well, I tell you what the problem is.
Okay.
There's Rugby World Cup, and it is a problem to get coaches onto the ferry at that time.
Okay.
But you know what? Yeah, I mean, I'm not a defeatist, so we won't rule that out.
Wonderful.
But our attitude this year to the coach is first come, first serve, first paid. You're on the coach,
Excellent.
and we have,
Get on the coach.
yeah,
How can they get
you can get on coach, yeah.
Mhm. How can they get on the coach?
Right. There is on the British West India Regiment Heritage Trust face page. There's a link for Eventbrite, but also the numbers to call are on the face page. And I can give my number now, which is 07956 100 089.
Okay, I will repeat that number. If you've been moved by the information shared today and you'd like to visit, loved one would like to visit, or you wish to take some youngsters so they're part of their education, please contact Brother Paul Chambers on 07 956 100 089. Okay, I repeat 07 956 100 089. Is there an email address there, Brother Paul?
Yeah, I was just going to tell you. It's B for Bravo, W for Whiskey, I for India, R for Romeo, dot, H for Hotel, T for Tango, at, 1 after T, the numeral 1, and then at gmail.com.
Okay, that's it. And if I may repeat it, so if you wish to contact Brother Paul by email, it is bwir dot ht followed by a figure 1, then the usual at sign, then it's gmail.com. Okay. And so I really would like to hear of the numbers we might add to this really important trip. I can see here, I've perused through what is military style precision organization that I've seen here, Brother Paul. Okay, thank you for sharing that with me. You might just want to expand on one group who might be contributing, and that is the British Army Rastafarian Network.
Okay, so we're part of the legacy of what we're doing is this. Our main speaker on the Saturday night is a retired soldier by the name of 002, Warrant Officer Class 2, Norman Harris. He was a soldier in 1965 in Jamaica, and he was encouraged to come and join the British Army. Did well for himself, rose to the top of his rank. Again, he was told that, Uncle Norman, we like you, but we're not ready for a black RSM. So
Wow.
he didn't reach the rank of 001. However, he enjoyed his military service. He left, and his son has joined as an officer.
Very good.
His son now is the highest ranking ever black officer in the British Armed Forces. His son is a brigadier.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
His son's name?
Brigadier Carl Harris.
Carl Harris.
Carl with a K.
Wow.
Right. So this is why the legacy is important. Now, why do I mention these two guys? So there's Daddy Harris, there's son Harris. Carl Harris, when he was a colonel, went to interview General Colin Powell in America to understand how America's army has promoted so many black people, including General Powell.
Indeed.
From what he learned, he came back, Carl came back and set up, at the time it was called the Black and Minority Ethnic Group in the Army. It is now called the Multicultural Network.
Gotcha.
What has happened in the last 7 years in the Army is that people like the Rastafarians are allowed to grow their hair and practice their faith, just like the Hindu or the Sikhs.
Absolutely.
And so, there is, I think the Rastafarian network in the Army is about 300 to 400 strong.
Okay, good.
I would also like to say that it is amazing how many Caribbean soldiers who are now serving. And in fact, let me put it widely. Commonwealth soldiers who are currently serving who are at the top of the rank. There's
Yes.
so many of them who are warrant officers
Yes.
that as an enlisted man, that's the highest you can go. Many of them are my friends now, and I believe that this is the legacy of Brigadier Carl, because now that that unit is there, we used to find West Indians getting to the rank of sergeant and leaving.
That's right. Yes.
They're
Yes.
now going up to staff sergeants, warrant officers, because that network is there to support them
Yes.
and give them the confidence to stay. So yeah, the one of the future of Bright is that we expect these guys when they leave the army to come and take the organization and to run the organization, because if you become a warrant officer in the army, you are a successful person.
Yes.
You're an example of how you can go into an environment and get to the top. And so, somebody who has been a warrant officer or staff sergeant in the British Army goes into the communities and start talking to the young ones. They will get the attention of the young ones.
Absolutely.
Not necessarily that the young ones will join the army, but it will inspire them to know that wherever they want to go, the sky is the limit.
The sky's the limit.
Mm.
I may ask you very, very quickly, I'm just conscious of our time now, that the I see here that the Sean Cliff Trust,
Mhm.
the Sean Cliff Trust with the Flame of Remembrance lanterns.
Mhm.
Just tell us a little bit about that, maybe for just only a few minutes. Quick.
Right. So, Sean was a training camp for the army, and it was where they created the concept of the light infantry,
Hmm.
the foot soldier,
Yes,
because previously soldiers used to be on the horse.
that's right.
Yeah, the cavalry they call it.
Yes,
Okay. So the Sean Cliff Trust is an organization that started the Flame of Remembrance project, where they created these lanterns called Light in the Darkest Hour. And when they heard about us going to France last year, they contacted us and told us about the lantern. And so we said, yeah, we like the name of that. We want a lantern to take as well for our own. And so we named the lantern Mary, as in sea code.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yes, because what we believe is that Mary, who did fantastic work during the Crimean War as a nurse, was Florence Nightingale's contemporary.
hmm.
Florence Nightingale was called the lady with the lamp.
Yes,
Well, Mary must have had a lantern as well.
yes.
And so we have uh, named our lantern Mary to represent the indomitable spirit of this woman who actually paid her way. Just like, again, West Indians, we love to pay our way to get to where we want to go. She paid her way to Crimea, set up a hotel, came back broke, but at least she did fantastic work.
I think
So,
a copy of a lantern somewhere here. One of the lanterns.
yeah, that's it.
Oh, you make
Yeah,
it.
that's Mary.
That's the Mary. There you are. That's the lantern, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, quickly, and again, a little bit of military twist.
Hmm.
It is said that the whole concept of the light infantry that was developed in the British Army was actually recognized from the prowess and the skill of arms of the black soldiers in the Caribbean.
There you go. Yeah.
This is my view, not an empirical data, but my view is that the Caribbean, the West Indian black soldiers then had in their DNA
Hmm.
the fighting spirit of the Maroons,
Yes,
the fighting spirit of the Ashanti.
indeed.
They were used to going into the woods, doing what they have to do, come back out.
Yes, right.
And so it is said that there's a British soldier called General Sir John Moore, who actually went into St. Lucia 1803 when Britain took back the country from France.
Hmm.
And he was the first commanding officer at Sean when it was developed. So he would have known about the skill of the black soldier.
Can I just ask you just to pause? I think we may have a caller on the line, although it's
Yeah.
coming late in the day. Good morning, caller. Can I ask your name, please?
Good morning. My name's Everton.
Good morning to you. Do you have a question for my guest, Adam?
No, I just want to show my appreciation for the West Indian Regiment and appreciation for the information that's been delivered. It's absolutely fascinating listening, although I do know a little about it. I just wanted to ask Brother Paul if the West Indian Regiment is still based in Clapham North.
Oh,
In Clapham.
Clapham North.
Oh, you mean the West Indian Association?
Yes.
Yeah. They're still there on
Yeah.
Clapham Manor Street.
Yes, Clapham Manor Street. Yeah, I know it. It's a long time I haven't been up there anyway, but I will drop in. Unfortunately, I won't be able to make the October, but I fully support it, and I will be giving you a link sometime soon, very soon.
Looking forward to that.
Thank you,
Yeah.
brother. Thank you very much for the call. Thank you very much for the call.
Thank you.
There you go. There you are. That's the people speaking, huh? That's the people speaking. All right. I think we're all, well, in fact, we are out of time. What would be your closing words to the audience, both young and old? I know you've affected some people. I've considered Texas here. I knew this would, in some cases, be quite poignant. Okay, what were your closing word for them?
Well, look, just 3 days ago, we were able to achieve some sort of status. We're now a community interest company, which means that now we can really stretch our hand out and ask people to support us.
Okay.
As a community interest company, this organization will grow to be owned by the community. And so we need help in terms of social media experts to carry the word. We also need funding. So if there are anybody out there who are expert at writing bids, anybody out there who have successfully gotten funding for their organization from a heritage point of view, get in touch with us and yeah, let's work together to make this organization one that will be there in perpetuity.
Thank you for that. And I might just ask you just to quote your number again. In fact, I'll give it out if it's the same number. The 07956 100 089, and that will put you in direct contact with Brother Paul Chambers of the British West India Regiment Heritage Trust. Honor and remember is the slogan. Thank you. That was a fantastic exchange, and I know that others will rerun this particular interview because you've shared information which you and I have become aware as a result of our inquiries. Yeah, we discussed this. And each week I do this, my knowledge base is expanded. But
a lot more to learn.
Oh, a lot more to learn.
A lot more to learn.
But this particular piece of research, and I've only scratched the surface. The fact that I was able to identify families with whom I have in my network across the UK and beyond of persons who are laid to rest, and persons you will visit in October, that brought it home to me.
Herman is asking you to put the number and perhaps the email address on the chat.
I will put that for you, Herman. Don't you worry. I'll put it in the chat, or I will do that for you in a few moments. Don't you worry. I'll do that for you in a few moments, and you'll have it there. Okay. And my last commentary for you, Brother Paul. This is clearly has moved people. Your exchange information has moved people, and that's the purpose of these shows. Yeah, that we translate these words into action in what you're doing. Okay, but remembering success is ours for the taking. Okay, and I ask you, Brother Paul, would you be willing to come back next year in preparation for your forthcoming trip. You said you might go to Egypt, which is interesting. That's actually been an interesting place to go. I'd be interested to hear about that. You never know. I might even accompany you. Okay, go to Egypt and these other places where our fallen heroes have yet to be recognised. Okay, so we'll
Yes,
come back next year. We
of
come.
course. And in fact, I might sneak on your show when we have our website, because it's
Okay.
important for people to know we have a website. So
Okay.
I'll sneak back on one of these days.
You don't,
But yes, I mean, yeah, I'll be back. I'll be back.
I can show you don't need to stick. You'll be more than welcome. More than
Right.
welcome. And I think what's important here is that you're sharing information which the average English child in English, Scots or Welsh school, this information is typically not shared. And the diet that I was exposed to as a child was truly a disempowering experience. Okay, truly a disempowering experience, and I most certainly would not wish that for future children. So I would just thank you, Brother Paul, for your work, and I thank you for the team that's around you, and I hope the call out you've given for those in social media, those who can build websites, those who can give you the support you need, I hope that they will give generously, and I hope your organisation goes from strength to strength.
Well, it was a pleasure and an honor for me to be able to speak about Bright. And yeah, I hope I'll be in touch with people to let them know what the development is, because we are just in our embryonic stage. But yeah, my motto is, when we do the right things for the right reasons, we get the right results.
Yes.
And so, yeah, that's how we hope Bright to improve and grow.
Thank you. I wish you well. We
Thank
wish
you
you
very
well.
much.
Long may you continue your works. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
very much.
Wow.
Bye,
There you,
everybody.
there you go. Bye bye. Bye bye. Now, that was something, huh? Wasn't that something? An example of what we could achieve when we are dedicated. When we are dedicated. But it is a poignant reminder of the shoulders that we are on right now. The unknown heroes and heroines, the men and women who sacrificed so that we could enjoy the luxuries so many of us are enjoying today. Okay? But if some of the information has affected you, please contact Paul Chambers, discuss it with him. I'll give out his number one more time. His number is 07956 100 089. And just share with him your story. And if you are able to go along and go to northern France, to that cemetery where many of our heroes and heroines are to be found, please do so. And come back to us and share with us your experience. Share with us your experience, because we want to hear from you. But I was most impressed by him, most impressed. But anyway, let me now disconnect from the Galaxy FUE network and let me hand over to the next presenter, who I believe is Sister or Empress Shanice. Let me disconnect from there. There you go. And let me just say to you, those of you on YouTube and Facebook, please give us the thumbs up, okay? Or just write some commentary, just so that we know that the content of these podcasts meet with your expectation and you are happy with the content. Give us the thumbs up, the digital thumbs up, okay? Or indeed, if you're not a subscriber on YouTube, it doesn't cost anything, just subscribe so you receive pre-notifications of each of the podcasts we produce, okay? And of course, if you're on Facebook, please follow us on Facebook, okay? But share the link to this recordings with your families, your friends, your wider networks, please. because the information needs to be shared. I realize this is not bad news, okay? I realize that. But this is good news. Let good news spread like wildfire, yeah? Let good news spread like wildfire, yeah? It's up to you. Remember, at the beginning of the show, I talked about our responsibility. And Ndidi would most certainly concur. I know if Ndidi was here now, and I know she would use words to the effect that we must be our change makers. Yeah, you are the change makers. We are the change makers, and we change because we want to see an improvement to our economic and social and condition, so we can be spiritually enlivened by our experience. So congratulations to Brother Paul Chambers. Okay? Congratulations on his efforts to highlight our contributions, both before the First World War and subsequent the First World War, and our significant contribution that we made. Okay. Regardless of what it says in the national curriculum here in Britain, which purport to suggest that our contribution was minimal or little or non-existent. A travesty, an absolute travesty. Let those books be updated and reflect the outstanding research work of what Paul Chambers has sought to achieve. So let's be clear about this. Change will only happen if we make it happen. So let's applaud and give a good thumbs up to the British West India Regiment Heritage Trust. Honor and remember. Wow, I'm so moved, so moved. So I will now go to my excerpt, and those of you who remember, the intro describes this show and its content. Share with your friends, with your neighbors, with your networks. Share. And if you're not a subscriber on YouTube, subscribe so we can achieve 10,000 new subscribers. Subscribe. Doesn't cost you a penny. The future is what we make it. Success is ours for the taking. Translate our great words into action. And to the next strong, I am the motivator. I am the motivator.